So for this final video, we are going to talk about trig graphs, and I'm going to talk about some key other trig values. So I'm actually going to start by extending that table that we had in the first section. So if this is degrees, and these are radians, there are a few other key values that is good to memorize. So 0 degrees, 0 radians, that was easy. Another angle that comes up a lot is 30 degrees. Now you can do a little bit of working on your own and figure this out, but you'll find that 30 degrees is the same as pi upon 6. Another really useful one that we often talk about is 45 degrees. Well, 90 was pi over 2. 45 is half of that, so it is pi over 4. 60 degrees is also pretty handy. Comes up quite a lot. Well, that's a third of a turn, of a half turn. So pi is 180. So 60 degrees is pi on 3. And 90 degrees was one we have already met, was pi over 2. So that's just a handy little table. You might want to pop that in your notes just as an extra little thing. These are ones that come up so often, it's probably worth memorizing them. So instead of converting every single time. The other thing that will be useful to have in mind is what our graphs look like. So I'm just going to quickly sketch those for us, just so you've seen each of the graphs sketched. I'm not going to draw it really accurately. So if I am drawing sine x, and x is in radians now, then our sine curve still has the same shape. It still goes up to 1, down to -1. But we're going to label our axis. So pi is the same as 180 degrees. 2 pi is the same as 360 degrees. Here we have pi over 2 instead of 90 degrees. And here we have 3 pi over 2 instead of 270 degrees. So that's our sine graph. And we're going to do exactly the same with cos. So y equals cos x. And you'll spot the shape of the graph's exactly the same. It's just about how we label that axis. So again, there's our graph. Pi radians is there. 3 pi over 2 radians is here. 2 pi radians is where we finish. And pi over 2 is there. And that goes between 1 and -1. So there's a sketch of our cos graph, but in radians for our axis. Final one is our tan graph. Now remember, if you're sketching a tan graph, the first thing we want to do is sketch our asymptotes. They happen at 90, or pi upon 2, and they happen at 270, otherwise known as 3 pi upon 2. And then the shape of the graph as it comes up, appears back at the bottom, comes up where it's passing through at 180 or pi radians, and then it reappears over here up to 2 pi radians. So it just gives us a sense of what the graphs look like where I've scaled the axis in radians rather than in degrees. These are going to be useful things later on in this topic. So hopefully it gives you lots of things to get going with and put in our notes, and you'll be able to do the questions as part of task 1. Please also do the check-in task at the end. That just gives you a chance to check your understanding when you've been through the questions.